the level of stupid that I just had to receive.
You make a bad poll, you make a bad call, that's on you.
Wants me to sit down, grovel on my knees and be like, I'm so sorry, Mr. Yamato.
That is the most arrogant statement on the planet, bro.
Instead of a comeback, this turned into a repeat disaster. Pirate Software disappeared after wrecking his reputation, then came back like everything was wiped clean, but it didn't land like that at all. If anything, the fallout hit even harder this time, and now it looks like he's rushing straight into the same collapse all over again. The internet's chill Bob Ross of coding image, yeah, that took a hit real fast. This guy who everyone hyped up as a wholesome tech mentor, claiming 7 years at Blizzard and over 2 decades in game dev, was pulling insane views, dropping tips, and acting like the go-to brain in the scene.
Take your mouse and you put your mouse inside of MS Paint, and then you hold spacebar, and then you use the arrow keys, you can draw like an Etch-a-Sketch. And people didn't know this. MS Paint is king. MS Paint is my favorite program ever. And all you have to do afterwards is you just take it and you shake it up.
That image didn't just crack, it shattered. Things started getting messy real quick. People noticed cracks when he dipped on his own squad during a World of Warcraft raid, got called out for sloppy coding habits, and even tried to shut down the Stop Killing Games movement with straight-up misleading info. On top of that, he showed a pattern that rubbed people the wrong way, never owning mistakes, never backing down, just doubling down every single time. Same move, different day.
Does not actually do any coding. The code is just visually there on the screen. And 98% of the actual stream is him looking at his subscribers, looking at his tip jar as to how much money people have sent him, and also looking at videos about games, but never actually doing any game development in a dev stream.
By the end of 2025, his views didn't just drop, they straight up crashed harder than a broken game on release day. Then January 2026 shows up, and you'd think this was his moment to reset and move smarter. But no. It went in the complete opposite direction. No reset, just repeat. Instead of fixing anything or showing even a little growth, he jumped right back into the same behavior that messed everything up before. It honestly turned into a perfect example of how not to handle copyright issues, like watching someone walk into the same trap again on purpose. Things really escalated when Pirate went after a smaller indie developer who had put out a simple game demo. This is where it gets wild. He accused them of using his voice in their game without permission.
As much as you're angry right now, of course I ran.
He didn't hesitate, filed a DMCA takedown right away, and even jumped on stream acting bold, throwing around lines like, "We're going to take you to court, you're going to lose," and "You cannot use somebody's likeness without permission," trying to sound intimidating. Big talk. Risky move.
We have to file a legal complaint against that dude earlier. So I filed a DMCA claim, and he has now filed a counterclaim against me. We're going to take you to court. You're going to lose. You cannot use somebody's likeness or voice in any way inside of your games without their permission.
Here's the twist. There was one small detail Pirate clearly didn't think through, and this changes everything. Now everything starts to fall apart. The audio he was so pressed about, it wasn't even in the public version of the game. It literally did not exist in anything players could download, which makes this whole situation look even worse. So what exactly was he striking? What actually happened was the developer had that audio sitting in a private development build as a joke placeholder, something never meant for release at all. On top of that, under DMCA rules, you're supposed to do a proper good faith check before filing anything like that. But Pirate clearly skipped that step entirely and rushed in trying to pressure someone with way less power and money. Things spiraled fast. It got so messy that a lawyer stepped in for free to back up the indie developer and push back against Pirate's legal move. Think about that for a second. A random lawyer saw the situation and said, "Nah, this isn't right," and jumped in just to even the playing field. That says a lot. In the end, the DMCA claim got pulled back. Did Pirate admit he messed up or say sorry? Not even close. This is Pirate Software we're talking about. He doubled down again, insisted it wasn't a false claim, and acted like everyone else just didn't understand copyright law. No apology, no accountability. People weren't buying it anymore. Even those who used to support him started calling it out, saying he was using his platform and resources to pressure smaller creators instead of actually helping them grow. Before all this drama kicked off, Pirate had this clean image, like the supportive, helpful dev everyone could look up to. That image didn't last long, because what came next made things look way worse. And that's when everything started getting out of hand. Around late January into early February, he ran Pirate Jam 18, a game jam that people are now calling one of the most poorly handled big events in a long time. The reasons behind that? Honestly wild. This is where things really unravel. First off, he straight up disabled core community features on itch.io. That's crazy, because the whole point of a game jam is for devs to play each other's games, leave feedback, and build connections. Instead, he shut down the rating system and comments like it didn't matter at all, killing the entire community vibe instantly. Right away, participants had zero reason to interact or support each other properly. Then the judging process somehow got even more chaotic. Reports say judges were spending around 5 minutes per game, 5 minutes for projects people spent serious time grinding on. 5 minutes. That's it. There were over 400 submissions too, which made the whole judging feel rushed and almost pointless, like none of the effort people put in was actually being respected. Things clearly crossed the line. During his stream segments where he showed off his favorite entries, the favoritism wasn't subtle at all. It was loud and obvious. You couldn't miss it. He would rush through some games and tutorials in barely 2 minutes, barely giving them a real chance. Then suddenly switch up and spend 20 to 30 minutes on games that featured his pet ferrets or looked similar to his own project, Heartbound. It wasn't even hard to notice. The bias was right there in front of everyone. Developers who followed every rule and put in serious effort completely overlooked. Meanwhile, games that matched Pirate's personal taste got all the spotlight and attention like they were on a different level. When people started calling this out with fair, constructive criticism, things got even worse. His moderation team didn't just respond, they went full shutdown mode. No discussion, just silence. Comments were getting deleted, criticism wiped out, and developers were getting permanently banned from all Pirate software spaces just for pointing out that the judging felt off. Think about that. People joined the event, played by the rules, gave honest feedback, and got completely locked out for it. Yeah, that's not how you earn respect. That's how you build a reputation as someone who can't take criticism at all. By then, that pattern wasn't new, because once again, he just doubled down instead of fixing anything. The backlash hit instantly. Former participants started speaking out, calling the whole event messy, disrespectful, and badly organized. One developer nailed it perfectly, saying the judging felt more like a performance than something real, and that Pirate seemed more focused on pushing his own brand than actually supporting indie creators. Just when it seemed like he might slow down and rethink everything after all these back-to-back situations, he jumped straight into another major controversy, right back into the fire. This time, it was tied to the collapse of Ashes of Creation, and things get seriously confusing here. On February 1st, 2026, the project, this huge MMO that had been in development for nearly a decade, completely fell apart. The studio let go of its entire team without final paychecks. The CEO stepped down and everything unraveled fast. To many people watching, it looked like a total disaster, the kind of situation that raises serious questions about how everything was handled behind the scenes. Players who had dropped hundreds, even thousands of dollars into the project were suddenly left with nothing. The entire gaming community lit up with anger, and honestly, it made sense. People started calling it out everywhere, demanding refunds, sharing their stories, and warning others about what they felt was a complete letdown. Trust completely broken. For many, this wasn't just another failed game. It felt personal. A lot of people genuinely believed in the project, supported it for years, and then watched it collapse right in front of them. Right in the middle of all that chaos, Pirate Software stepped in, but not how you'd expect. Instead of acknowledging how bad things looked, he went online defending the developers, claiming the game had been fine until recently. He positioned himself like he had inside knowledge, like he understood the situation better than everyone else, and started downplaying how serious everything was. To a lot of people watching, it felt like he was trying to reshape the narrative instead of facing what was obvious. That didn't sit right. What really pushed people over the edge was this: defending a studio accused of not paying its own employees properly. That didn't sit right with anyone. Soon after, people started calling him out, saying he was inserting himself into a situation that had nothing to do with him, while ignoring the bigger issues everyone else was pointing at. From there, defending a project that clearly let down both its players and its own team just didn't sit right with people. Some even started speculating that Pirate might have had a financial reason to back Ashes, since he had promoted it heavily and used referral codes that could have earned him money if things went well. Now, whether that's actually true or not, the situation still looked bad. When a game people invested real money into collapses this hard and leaves both players and workers hanging, that's not something you casually defend without serious backlash, bad timing, worse look. Things got even more chaotic. While everything was falling apart and employees were literally losing their jobs, Pirate made things worse by publicly targeting one of them. Margaret Cron, a community manager for Ashes, had interacted with Pirate months earlier when he reported players for harassment in-game. She explained that their moderation team was small, dealing with a backlog, and that not every report leads to instant permanent bans, which is a pretty standard and fair approach. When people started questioning Pirate's defense of the situation, he dropped their entire private DM conversation and accused Margaret of lying about how she handled his reports. That move shocked a lot of people, especially given the timing, and only added more heat to an already explosive situation, completely unnecessary. Looking closer at those leaked DMs, the story started falling apart fast. It became clear that Pirate had twisted what was said. Margaret was talking about players throwing insults and harassment, not getting permanently banned right away. Meanwhile, Pirate tried to frame it like she was ignoring serious threats toward LGBTQ players, which completely changed the context. That's a huge difference. So now it looked like he reshaped the timeline to make himself seem like the victim. The timing made it even worse. This all happened while Margaret had just lost her job and was trying to support her former co-workers in finding new work. That's why people were shocked at how far it went. The level of pettiness and ego on display didn't go unnoticed, and for many watching, it felt like history repeating itself all over again. Because here's the thing, none of this behavior was new. This was the exact pattern that caused problems before, refusing to admit mistakes, talking down to critics, and always needing to be right, even when things clearly didn't add up. He had months to step back, reflect, and come back with a different approach, maybe show some growth or self-awareness. Instead, it turned into the same cycle playing out again, almost beat for beat. Nothing changed. People even started putting a label on it, calling him a glorified lol cow. A harsh term people use for someone who keeps attracting drama and criticism because of their own actions. It almost feels like he doesn't even see how people view him. Every time he tries to defend himself or step in like an authority, it just makes things worse and pushes him deeper into the mess. And the numbers? They tell the full story without saying a word. His YouTube channel went from pulling in millions of views per video to barely scraping around 5,000 on most uploads. That's not a small drop, that's a massive fall. On Twitch, it's the same situation. He used to average around 10,000 viewers, and now it's closer to 3,000 on a good day. On top of that, he's lost nearly 700,000 subscribers, which shows just how many people have checked out. So unless Pirate suddenly becomes self-aware, recognizes these patterns, and actually changes how he moves, this isn't some comeback story. It's starting to look more like part 2 of a career crashing in slow motion. Same cycle, same outcome. And based on everything so far, that kind of shift doesn't seem likely anytime soon. But what do you think? Can Pirate Software turn this around? Or is his run as a respected voice in gaming basically done?